If I told you keep America great or make America even greater, would you be able to identify who said what? Maybe, but maybe not. Because the first one was said by Donald Trump in 2019 and 2020, while the other one was said by Hillary Clinton in 2016. So, how is it possible that two people that are so different politically or just as people can say the same exact thing? Well, that's because it doesn't really matter who said what, but when. And the context of slogans or sentences in general in politics and media and journalism is so important. And sometimes politicians or the media will say things hiding something else underneath. In this case, what they were both saying is the government that we have right now is great. Let's just keep going this way. And Hillary obviously was referring to Obama's administration, while Trump to his own. And it is quite funny to me how, of course, Trump changed his slogan, Make America Great Again, to Keep America Great in 3 years. And obviously, he meant that now he made America great, even though everyone knew that a whole country cannot change its state in 3 years. But linguistically, he was forced to, because saying
Make America Great Again
implies that America is not great right now. In 2020, Donald Trump had to deal with the crisis of COVID and a country that was metaphorically and literally on fire. So he announced that he might change his slogan into Transition to Greatness, which Mike Donilon, who is a political strategist, called an admission of failure. This is because obviously saying his sentence, he just admitted that America still not great. So what's the point of this? Context is really important in understanding why someone is saying something, and it's crucial that you realize that and you are critical when you hear something, a slogan or a speech, or you read the news. And I'm not saying that politicians and the media never say anything meaningful, but they're just saying stuff for convenience. What I'm saying is it is very important to realize what someone is actually saying and be always aware of the message that is hiding underneath. So how do we do it? The general rule of thumb is to always be critical and to fact check everything that you hear. But from a linguistic point of view, there are some signs to look for to really spot a manipulative language user. The first one is factive verbs. Factive verbs are a group of verbs that state the truth of an embedded sentence, even though the whole statement is denied. And this sounds complicated, but it's very easy once you understand the concept. A sentence like, do you know that you're being manipulated? Is very manipulative, because know is a factive verb, which means the fact that you are being manipulated is not even in question. So you can answer yes or no to that question, but you know it or you don't know it, but it's still true. You are being manipulated. And there are a bunch of these verbs, and I love them. I think they're very interesting, and they are used a lot without us realizing it. For example, recently, a reporter asked Trump, do you regret all the lying you did during these 4 years? And I love this question because he used a factive verb, which is regret. And the fact that he lied is not even in question. He's asking, do you regret it or do you not regret it? And Trump cannot answer yes or no to the question without admitting that he lied. And it's very interesting to look at Trump's response because
all the dishonesties
That who has done?
you have done. Tens of
Yeah,
thousands.
go ahead, please. Please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, but
he just ignored it. There was no way to answer it without being wrong. And of course he could say, you're wrong, I never lied. It would require a more complex answer, and hearing a question like that just puts you on the spot. And it's very difficult to answer something like this. And I see this in newspapers, in the news, in even every day online. I saw recently a video of Trisha Paytas that was called Gabby Hanna Can't Stop Lying. And stop is a factive verb. So it states that Gaviana is lying. I don't know the drama behind it, but the way that she phrased the sentence just means that the fact that Gaviana is lying is not even in question. It is a true fact and you cannot even argue with it. So it is extremely important to be aware of this type of verbs that are used, because you could end up just agreeing with something just because it's there and it's not in question, and if you're not thinking critically, you might not ever realize what you just did. There are a lot of factive verbs. There's a list. There's no, regret, stop is a factive verb, and it's very important. You can find them online and look them up, and it is important to know them because it might help you realize when someone is slipping something in the sentence as a fact, while maybe you should look into it and see if that is actually a fact or it's just something that they're stating. The second sign to look for is lists. Recently, a New Yorker article looked into how our brain works and why we love lists so much. And the way our brain works is that we look for differences. So when a list is presented to us, it's just so easy for us to just go through it and group all of those items into one and know that they are similar to each other. So this is extremely dangerous from a linguistic point of view, because if someone presents a list to you, you are forced to elaborate those things as similar. And there was a case in Italy some time ago because a politician said the mayor needs to step down before Rome is invaded by rats, trash, and immigrants. And obviously that is a questionable statement and horrible and unsettling. The first time you hear it, you should feel like something's off. And that is because you are forced to put those things into the same group. And obviously they shouldn't be in the same group. But that's up to you to realize what that person is saying and to be critical and to realize, wait, those things should not belong together. And it's the same reason why these type of signs are unsettling and so strong and send such a strong message. But if we don't stop thinking about why they are so unsettling, in the back of our head, that could stay as a true thing, that those items belong in the same list. And there are some politicians in Italy that were actually studied by linguists because they use like one list every sentence they say. And that is just one sign of manipulative language. So look out for that. Another thing that's very common in politics is dialing down your commitment. And it is something I saw pretty much in every sentence in the presidential debate, in one of the presidential debates in 2016, that was Trump and Clinton. And I was in the United States in 2016, so that is why I have a lot of examples from that time, because I remember pretty clearly following the elections, and I remember analyzing the way they were speaking. And a lot of it was, I think, in my opinion, and stuff like that. And that is what we call commitment in linguistics, which means that everything you say after saying those words should not be taken as you are stating a fact or the truth. So in the future, you can go back to those words and saying, well, that was just my opinion, or I was not stating a fact. So politicians do this obviously a lot, and we do this in everyday language as well. And it is just trying to not have the responsibility for what we are saying, even if we're saying something that we think is true, but we don't want the responsibility of saying something that might be controversial or very strong. The last one is relative sentences, and this is very similar to the first one, so to factive verbs, because you are hiding a piece of information in the middle of something else. Recently, Biden said about Trump, this just shows how weak he is. And putting the sentence this way with the how is just, you can't deny that he's weak. The main verb is show, and even if you deny the sentence, you're denying that it shows it, not that he's weak. Or if you hear a sentence like, oh, I saw that kid that is such a bad influence on you in the store the other day. That is a way of putting an information inside the sentence without having it be the real object of the sentence. Because obviously the main verb is I saw. So denying the whole sentence is not gonna deny that relative in the middle of the sentence. So with all of these tips, I'm not saying that every time that you hear something like this, someone is trying to manipulate you into believing something or doing something. What I'm saying is, it's very important to realize when someone says something like this, especially when it's in politics or in the media or online, because sometimes people will try to make you believe some stuff that it's not true, or maybe that you should fact check or plant an idea in your head without you realizing. So I hope that from now on you can realize when someone is saying something that's a little off, and notice more things about how the language is used every day. And I am very passionate about these topics, and I actually did a project for university on linguistic manipulation in the political language. Maybe I will dive into this topic again in future videos. So if you want to stick around for that, consider subscribing, and I will see you then.